here. And if you watched my video from yesterday about NASA and the Future Is Now document, I wanted to hone in and focus on really one of the smaller, I wouldn't say smaller aspects, I'd say lesser focused on aspects of that document that should raise some eyebrows, right? And the main thing is that they have this idea of what? Trojan horses, okay, and civilian systems. And both of them are in quotation marks. If you saw the thumbnail, then you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So Trojan horses, civilian systems. Now, they're talking about that in a warfare mindset within the continental United States against the enemy after next, okay? And at the time, this is a 2000 or 2001 document. So obviously the war on terror, we've seen that overseas. And what are they telling you now is the largest threat in this country? And when I say they, I mean the media, I mean Zombie Joe. They're all talking about white supremacy and domestic terror now, okay? So every time I get up here and I start talking about how these large tech companies that everybody's like, oh, it's a tech oligarchy, or it's a technocracy. No. It's a technopoly set up by the predator class through the military industrial complex that more and more has become the media military industrial complex, right? And really always was at a certain extent and level. And even people like Kennedy tried to warn about that in his infamous secret society speech, right? So when they talk about civilian systems, yes, they are talking about not only telecom companies, which again, these telecom companies all had these servers in them that were directly transmitting all the information passing through, no matter what it was, to the NSA. And it came out way before Snowden. If you're still unaware of Hepting versus AT&T and whistleblowers like Mark Klein, I really need you to go watch Invisible Empire and understand these building blocks have been around for a long time. And again, in that document, it explains to you that a lot of this technology that they start rolling out is in the quote-unquote inventory phase, right? So they erect these Trojan horses, aka when they get caught, either they can simply basically whitewash the situation and say that they're going to do some hearings, right? And they're going to start regulating things. But of course they're not, right? They're going to let them do business as usual. Or eventually, if it gets so bad, they can just burn one of them and then basically erect another one of their creations. And that's why the Securities and Exchange Commission is a joke. They don't go after the real technopolies, because the real technopolies are those Trojan horses and what? Civilian systems that this NASA document is talking about. You get it? You understand? We'll talk about a little bit about my Twitter feed today too. By the way, almost 100 watching. Can we get 50 thumbs? Thank you. So there's another article out there. A couple days ago, you saw internationally them starting to talk about budesonide again. I don't want to get too much into it, but you can go to my Twitter feed and you can check it out. And if you have a mobile, to go share it over on, the book or whatever. But even before I got there, on a desktop, every time you click on the link, it starts to go to it, and then boom, it's gone. It just says, oops, it's an error. Now, I've been talking about this as a corticosteroid as treatment for how long now? I want to say my first video, June or July. 10 plus months. And we all know that I have nowhere near the resources of state governments, federal governments, NGOs, right? People like the World Health Organization And yet somehow I knew about this thing that's now being reported on, and still people would rather, get into boop passports and lockdowns. I mean, do you really think that you should be locked down on such a beautiful day? You hear those birds chirping in the background? Yeah. That's what I like. That's what I live for. Oh, I don't want to be entrenched in a bunch of smart dust. Okay? I don't need Trojan horse civilian systems to be set up to, enslave me, my family, my friends, my neighbors. It doesn't sound appealing to me. And most people still think this stuff is in the realm of science fiction, and it simply is not. You look at this document, and anybody can do it. I would encourage you, especially at the time, go through the 112-page version, not just the 48-page version we just did, right? The future is now is what it's called. NASA, okay? And then look up those things, and if something seems curious to you, you can type in that subject, whether it be bio, nano, whatever, and then NASA into just about any search engine, and just see what the open research is. See what DARPA's been up to. And then I would encourage you to check out Dennis Bushnell. Now I'm going to finish up this speech he gave in 2011 and probably go over it later on. But he's just like, from what I've seen, first of all, in this thing, right? He just casually says, we might have to introduce, doesn't say might, introduce a little population control. Very casually. And then you look at NASA and NOAA and what they're really up to and how they are working with these advanced projects. And you're like, well, what is really going on? And then you see Hotez, Mr. Smiles, on 60 Minutes. And thank goodness that that's getting a bit of coverage. And obviously, Whitney Webb has been covering that guy for quite some time. And we've been talking about these DARPA programs with her. But he's like a smiley, gleeful, child talking about this stuff. Yikes. I mean, he's all giggles and funny, and I don't find it funny. I'm very cautious when we get to the level where the populace has no idea the technology available right now for transhumanism. And guys like Bushnell not only are giving population control slyly speeches, right? We'll just introduce a little population control in 2011. But in 2020, he's talking about, uploading your consciousness and virtually visiting Mars and virtually visiting the stars and solar system. This is the plan. They want you to believe that your consciousness is going to be able to transcend your icky, gooey body, when in fact, it's not. I don't care what they say. They want to put you into a piece of silicone, all right? And they want to control you. And you guys saw my Jonathan Salk watch along. If you didn't, I would encourage you to watch that. I mean, there's a point where he's talking about if people are too independent and refuse to get with the program, there's going to be a huge population reduction. Resume. I mean, huge. Again, he put up the graphs. I didn't. He even said, sometimes I put it up, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I put it up. So really? But you'll put it up for Google, right? That was a presentation in front of Google. So look, guys, if you haven't noticed, a lot of my work has been focusing on this transhumanism stuff. Why? Because I think it's important. It's right in our face. We need to start paying attention. We can no longer ignore it, okay? And it intertwines with everything that's going on right now. Everything. Bio, nano, you name it. And by the way, on top of that, even though we want to do, a lot of current event stuff, this is the event, right? This is their great reset. This is me yesterday watching Cuomo talking about building back better. Still in office. We're going to build back better in this new world. He talked about new world. He's building back better. You already know. He's given the city over to billionaires, really the state, over to people like Eric Schmidt, right? And he wants the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to do school. And again, if you look at all those things that are in that document, the future is now, right? Those are also Trojan horse civilian systems, right? Let's get that out of the way too. Let me explain that. Let's come full circle. We won't circle back. Let's come full circle here. Think about this. If your kids are constantly online, and eventually they want nothing but teleschooling, they're going to bring AI in, and even before that, they're going to monitor what's going on in these Zoom meetings, run them through algorithms. That doesn't mean some person's going to sit there and watch a day of school. No, they'll run them through computers, okay? And then they'll dial in what kind of education they want for everybody. And then they'll recruit the type of student that they want from that. We're in spooky times. All this stuff was way, way, way before all this COVID 1984 nonsense. It's been there, okay? So, if you want to support me, guys, the links are down below. At Jason Burmis is also the Venmo, but follow me on Twitter, obviously, and make that free Rockfin account, because Rockfin's where it's at. That's where we can get down and dirty, and we're probably going to do a video later today where we start on both, but you're going to need that free Rockfin account to kind of come on over and see the extra information that we really can't talk about on YouTube anymore. Wish we could, we just can't. So thumbs it up, subscribe, share. I love you, and I'll see you on the flip side.